DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Esport Management, and GGBet.
Mesdames et messieurs, the time is now, the time has come, because we are in Tour France for the final of the DreamHack Open. 8 teams started here on Friday, but now only 2 remain, and they are Mousesports and Valiance. And there you can see the trophy that one of these teams will be raising in just 2 or 3 maps time. And of course, they'll be taking home a whopping $50,000 to boot. So in other words, I'm looking to make friends with whoever wins tonight. Now, we would not be here if it wasn't for our friends, Esports Management, Corsair, and Monster Energy. So thank you so much for all your support. My name is Frankie Ward. I'm part woman, part wildcat, and I have some fabulous analysts with me, and they are Potter and Blair.
I love it.
I'm working on my growl. I'm working on my growl. I managed to sort of pussycat my way into this, but I'm still not allowed to drink it. I got very intimate with with the label on this bottle earlier because I'm really looking forward to it, but apparently still no champagne for me. The lid is safely on. Again, producer dagging me in my ear. No. Oh, non. Parce que je suis en France. D'accord. So, French CS then. We had 3 fantastic teams joining us here at Tour. One of them came through the French qualifiers, that was Instinct. We also had French Frogs. We never got to see their logo, but hopefully it will come out soon because it's just, there are no words. And, and of course we had G2. The French scene is a very strong one. These French players, they like to play with each other. We've got some major winners in the French scene, quite a few in fact. And we have Vitality, of course, who aren't with us this weekend, but I believe we're going to see them at Dallas in a couple of weeks' time. Why is the French scene so unique, Blair?
The unique thing about a French scene is the fact that they have so many good players, so many talented players who just don't seem to want to play with one another, and I don't know why. I mean, just bury the hatchet and make these teams, and that sucks, because you look at the scene, these are like some of the most tenured, some of the most decorated players and teams that we have in the scene, in CSGO as a whole. We have major champions, we have Vitality right now, we have G2, and I would like to see them do better. I think Vitality are the one shining star for French CS, so to speak, especially because of that one prodigy that is Zywoo, of course, right? But keeping that aside, it's like, I don't know why, I think there was Apex who had, I think it was a Twitch clip where someone asked him, so do you want to still play, why don't you play with Shox, or do you still want to play with Shox? It was like, not really, I respect him as a player, but I don't want to play with him ever again. And that just goes to show, this thing goes deep, and that is just so unfortunate. Maybe because, Frankie, they are very emotional people.
They are, but it's such a shame because Shox and Apex won a major together. And actually, MBK, Happy, and Kirishima are all players who have won 2 majors. And Kirishima really is the only player who's kind of ventured outside into the wider world. But he's just left Cloud9, and we don't know where he's going next, Potter. Do you think he's going to come back to France?
Probably not. I would assume, since his English is much better than most of the French players. But I want to speak a little bit about G2. Earlier in the tournament, we spoke about French Frogs potentially being the strongest French team, which was so weird saying it out loud when you're comparing French Frogs to G2. But I gotta say, I am definitely impressed with G2. Not so much with their results, but more so with their tenacity. I think that's something that we have questioned in the past is how far can G2 go? What kind of G2 is going to show up today? And although it wasn't their strongest form, they've got another tournament in a couple weeks, and they performed pretty admirably 2 weeks ago. So hopefully this trend continues to go upwards for them, and they perform in DreamHack Dallas.
Well, I can think of no players better to describe the French scene than the French players themselves, so let's take a look.
The French scene was a really strong scene back when you could get away with more simplistic play and just riding individual talent. And that really is what French CS thrived on, you know, over the last few years. The problem is that nowadays you see teams rise up like an Astralis, like a team like what Ints most recently, where not only do they have strong individual players, but they also have a well-rounded game.
French Counter-Strike was always different. Like at the beginning of the CSGO was like NIP was dominating like first 2 years or 3 years, but on the final they always played against French team, you know, Very Games or Titan or LDLC.
I think the French CS is coming back because like for the few years it was in a weird place, I'm gonna say. But yeah, right now with the new G2 lineup and with Vitality, I think they're doing great.
I think the best player in France is Zywoo, like by far. The guy's a god.
When you look across the French scene today, you see glimmers of hope. You see young upcoming talents like Zywoo. You see veterans. Kenny S is still one of the most dangerous snipers in CSGO, and you see it time and time again. The pieces are there to perhaps put together something special, but until you can find the right combination to bring all those parts together, I think the French scene is just doomed to repeat its past.
I think like the way to go to improve the French scene is to actually just pick up young talents, you know, and just work with them and make them into like beasts.
And one of those beasts for sure is Zywoo. Now he's not here this weekend. He is of course playing for Vitality at the moment. Just how good is he and how good could he become, Potter?
Man, Zywoo is one of those players that, there's not a lot of players that can be put into smokes and sticky situations, getting fired at from every angle and flick and kill every single one of those players. But Zywoo is one of those players, and even specifically in this competitive atmosphere now in 2019, it's so hard to watch a player and see him single-handedly just win a round by himself. There's just too many optimal crossfires that teams understand and know, too much utility that teams understand how to use to their advantage. So not a lot of players are able to do that, but Zywoo can.
Absolutely. I mean, he has been the one player everyone's been looking for, right? I don't want to really jump to gun like many people have, where they're like, this guy's going to be the best player in the world. He's potentially maybe the second best player in the world. He's not yet. He still has a lot to prove.
He's so young.
He's still so young, but like he's no Simple yet. Simple has proven himself as the best player this game has probably ever seen. He's not there yet, but to watch his trajectory go in conjunction with Vitality's rise to prominence, I think that's a very exciting prospect.
And I think Nexa said it perfectly, right? Is find some young talent and form them into the teammates that you want them to be. They're so young, they're so moldable, right? And so definitely the veterans of the scene, like in Kenny S and Shocks, they need to pass down their wisdom and let them know what made them lose.
Well, we are going to see some veterans play in the final because we saw them in the semi-final earlier. Chris J and Kerrigan on the Mousesports lineup. And of course, they whipped a Vanguard out of the building earlier. And it was a really, really impressive performance, Blair. There's some highlights there to remind us of what happened on Train.
The interesting thing with this is, if you look at it, both the teams who didn't have to play on day 2 are now out of the event, right? They just played as 2 best of 1s, and that's why we always say you can't read too much into best of 1s. Coming to the best of 3s, yes, Mousesports had lost that first game, but they've been looking so good ever since then, right? And then even if you look at their opponents, Valiance, who've had a little bit of a closer affair, especially in that second semifinals, they have kind of grinded it out, so to speak, the past 3 days to finally reach the finals here. And Power, I don't know about you, but both these maps, Train and Dust 2, it was sheer domination, not just firepower, it was just the way they're playing it. And the thing with Kerrigan is he has so many tricks up his sleeve. It's not going to be just him playing passively or just playing aggressively, it's mixing and matching, and he is going to test you. It doesn't matter which team you are.
Definitely, I have to agree. Kerrigan, speaking of those tricks up his sleeves, he passes that along to his team, because if we think back on Dust 2 earlier on day 1, it was a stark difference on their Dust 2 today. I mean, they were pulling out so many aggressive plays, and they were definitely set pieces. They're pieces that this team has gone over before in a server and practiced and dry run. And so that's really impressive to see such depth on such a new team.
Now, if Mouse versus a Vanguard was a little bit one-sided, a swift 2-0, our second semi-final, G2 versus Valiance, certainly wasn't Potter. But if anyone's just tuned in, we might need a reminder of what happened. So do the duties, please.
A reminder of the semifinals?
Yes, please.
All right, well, we started off with Nuke, and but this is Vertigo, obviously, on your screen, showing some highlights. And here's Letney. He was the solo player for Valiance on that B side, and we talked about how strong it is having a player that's able to not only hold the bomb site, but get multi-kills every time the enemy's coming into your bomb site. And when you do that once, or even just twice in a round, in a half, it conditions the enemy team. They no longer want to go B. They're afraid of going B, in fact. So that type of conditioning is so important and so impactful for your team.
But let's, ooh.
Yeah, just want to add one quick thing. Would be we also saw why Vertigo sucks as a map, because even though they had the prep right, the T side was great. Some of the smoke executes coming out from Valiance was great. 11-4 on the T side, right? That's pretty much a win condition met right there. They should be winning it. What did G2 do? They didn't know the map as well as Valiance did. You can make out with the way they're approaching the sites and all that, but they just came in, took heads, and it's so easy. That's what Nexus said, and that's a problem with a map like that. Do you want to have a map like that in your map pool where, yeah, you might do a very good job on it, but just a team who's just feeling it on their good day just might come and out-aim you and outgun you? It's a hard map, right? And I don't think we're going to be seeing it this time around.
It is a hard map for sure, but I gotta say, I appreciate Vertigo. I think it reminds me, it takes me back to the 2015 days, 2014 days when players and teams didn't know the most optimal angles. They didn't have the most optimal utility in their kit. So it really came down to individual skills. We saw so many highlight reels back in the day, and I think that's what we see here consistently on Vertigo is players don't know the optimal setups. They don't know which angles they want to actually take and what contacts they take. So we have Kenny S just bunny hopping around, using the op like it's a shotgun, and those kind of highlight reels is what really initiates the rounds for the players.
I heard something really interesting in my ear, and I think she's lying to me. Producer Dagny was just like, so Vertigo, are we gonna see? I think she was trying to get my attention, and she certainly got it. I like the fact that you two finally disagreeing for once. Now, what are we gonna see?
It's going out right now. Mousesports are gonna ban out Vertigo. First thing, I'm gonna be absolutely shocked that they do. They will. There we go. We have Valiance going to be banning out Overpass, so Vertigo and Overpass are going to be taken out.
And it's so unfortunate that Valiance has to use a veto on Overpass because Mousesports, they're very new on that Overpass, so it is really unfortunate in this veto series.
They looked very good yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, they did. They did.
The Train pick coming in is no surprise. It's better to go for Train rather than Nuke, even though Valiance were looking a little struggly on that. Mouse aren't. I don't think they really want to try the luck there, right? This is interesting. The Mirage pick, one of the best maps of Mousesports, is getting picked by Valiance. That's them taking the fight to Mouse. And as I'm saying, you know, the way we dismantled Windigo, we're going to do the same to you. That's a statement pick coming in from these guys.
It definitely is, and I respect that. I wrote in my notes that if I was Valiance, I'm picking Mirage versus Mousesports. So that's definitely a ballsy pick on Valiance's side, but I respect that. It definitely means and shows that they've done their research. They've done their homework.
This is interesting, though.
Decider Nuke.
I really thought they'd probably ban out Nuke. Valiance would ban out Nuke and then let Inferno through, but this makes things very interesting because if it goes to map number 3, we saw what Mousesports did yesterday on that Nuke T side, and Valiance, the CD side was, sorry, the T side was kind of.
They couldn't rack any rounds on that Nuke today, and they did lose versus G2. However, Vince said it perfectly yesterday. You learn more from a loss than you do a win. That was a couple of hours ago, and these guys have had a break in between, and they're very familiar with Nuke. In fact, on day 1, they showed us exactly how good they can be on Nuke. So I think just small, minor adjustments, and map 3 might be surprising.
And they showed us exactly how good they can be on Nuke against Mousesports. So in some ways, I'm not surprised that they picked it, but we need to find out exactly how our teams got to the grand final. So let's take a look.
So I played the previous year final here, but I was playing for Hellraisers that time. So this time I want to win this tournament because when you are losing on final is bad. So I came back with different roster to win this tournament.
We came with low expectations for this tournament, but we're playing really good as a team, so I think we have a good shot of winning this.
If he plays the trigger discipline, he could have both kills. Amanex lining up nades. He's found them both. Can he do it? Yes! Esperanto shutting.
G2 have to extend so deep into this bomb site to retrieve it. And Nexa, he's gone through these smokes. He's trying to wrap around from behind. They're not ready. And Nexa could do so much. Spraying through. He's got 3. He's not stopping. Frozen finds himself one and the double. That's the bomb dropped on the back. James still alive, but Frozen triple kill. And he's going to get the 4th at the very end. We were waiting for the young gun to warm on up. And there we go. And Dust, same story. He's got a rotation available from Crest on that AWP. But he might not need it because Rock, 4 kills. Everybody's gone.
Valiance is best of 1. Maybe it was easy for you, but we are coming with best of 3 right now. You will not gonna have any chance.
I can say only good luck to Mousesports and let the best team win.
If there's one thing these teams have in common, it seems that nothing can tear them apart. And Valiance had their highest placement ever in the world rankings earlier this year. They went up to number 15, currently ranked at number 20. But if they win this, surely they're going to go even further, Potter. But can they do it? Are they worthy of that trophy?
Oof, this is a tough one. I think Valiance's veto and map pool is a little bit weaker than Mousesports, but I got to talk about Nexa. I think he's going to be a huge impact in coming into this series. We saw on that highlight reel Nexa getting a 3 or 4K on Vertigo, pushing through that smoke. These are the kind of intelligent, gimmicky plays that I think we're going to need to see coming out of Valiance's side, specifically on Nexa's part, because he thrives in that chaos. He thrives in those smokes, and he shows exactly why he's so impactful. It's such high CSIQ plays that he actually comes out on top of more often than not.
They were very reliant on Hunter last time we saw them play Mirage, and of course they have picked that map. 2.54 rating against Wendigo.
Yes.
Insane, but it did mean we didn't get to see the rest of the team really break through and perform on that map. Do you think it's going to be more of a team effort today?
It absolutely will be more of a team effort today. I think Hunter's not going to be able to bully Mousesports as much as he was versus Instinct on that Mirage. However, their approach to that connector side that allowed Hunter to look for those openings, to get those kills, it's still going to be there. Those opportunities are going to be there, but hopefully he shows a little bit of discipline and allows his teammates to actually capitalize on his advantages that he's getting for his team.
And Blair, these are technically the top seeded players in this tournament. Mouse actually kind of coming in through the lower bracket. They're the underdogs.
Yeah, they just lost the best of 1. Big deal. Just a big deal. Honestly, look at the way they've played so far apart from that, right? And here's a cool thing. It's just the sheer variation in the approach to the different maps, and depending on opponents, it's going to be different style of Mousesports you're going to be seeing, depending on the map, depending on the opponent. Karrigan was opping, was secondary opping instead of Chris J. You have that option going for you, right? And even looking at these map picks coming in from Valiance, that Mirage pick is going to come and bite them in the butt. I'm saying it right now. Mouse are very scary at that map. And for Valiance, they really didn't face any pressure from Wendigo, so I'm a little worried for them. And looking at these players, you're Frozen. He seems to be kind of getting into his groove in this tournament so far. He's been allowed a lot of freedom by Karrigan to go in for the entries, and he goes in. He reminds me of someone like vintage Apex, just holding W, running in, getting the kill, but not overextending. He gathers information, he falls on back, he gets his double kills and whatnot. We have Mr. Karrigan himself, of course. He has definitely made up since that. I wouldn't really blame him for it, but getting CSGO to day 1, that's been a crazy turnaround for him. We haven't really seen Woxic really wake up apart from the first map on Inferno, where he got like, what, 20 kills on the T side. If he decides to finally wake up today, it's going to be rough, because look at these maps. Train, Mirage, those are maps that he can just go ham on. He can just go ape. And of course, Chris J as well. He really hasn't had to do much, to be honest. And he was one of the top players in that lineup, right? Just man for man, like just looking at firepower-wise, Mousesports are the better team here.
For sure, and speaking a little bit more about, let's do the head-to-head first really quickly. Both the in-game leaders for these respective squads, Nexa on the Valiant side of things, I spoke a little bit about him earlier. He's absolutely going to have the impact that he's shown his team throughout this tournament, and it has to show up here in the grand finals. And we've got Karrigan giving us the death stare. Let's see if the cameraman actually loses this time. Okay, well, the production lost it. We switched the screen, but yeah, and Karrigan, he's still gonna have to rally up his teammates. You know, Karrigan on that Mousesports side of things, what they've been doing a little bit differently here today, which I think is so impressive, is Karrigan, Woxic, and Frozen. These three have been sticking together. They've been going into the extremities of the map and the middle of the map and trying to draw out all the attention. And Robson, you said Chris J has been a little bit more quiet today, but they're in those impact lurk roles. They're in those roles that the insurance plan, the backup plan, the roles that allow the team to go to the other side of the sites.
So do we think that Frozen then, on Mirage, is going to be the player that everyone in Valiance needs to watch out for, Blair?
I think it's actually going to be Mr. Wox against Chris J. One thing I watch all the time with these two guys are how they keep moving around with the AWP or the Yogg. It's always like the aggression comes up from these two main players, while Robs is going to be holding down the B bomb side. I think for Valiance, especially on Train, what they need to watch out for is that B bomb side. That is a side where you can potentially get more rounds.
So, predictions. Dagny, our producer, has decided that you're saying Mousesports, Blair. Correct her if she's wrong?
She's right, she's a smart lady.
She's right, of course. Well, she's a very smart lady. Thank you for hiring us all. Now, Potter, what are you saying?
I've got to go with Mousesports as well. You know, I think Valiance has a shot. They definitely have a chance, specifically if they can take it to the third map, but Mousesports looked so strong today.
I'm definitely going to say Mouse as well. I think that map veto is firmly in their favor. But what do Twitch chat think? Can't believe I'm asking Twitch chat for their opinion, their knowledge, their insight and advice.
Twitch chat are pretty intelligent. Yeah.
Some of them. Some of them incredibly intelligent. Look, Twitch unity, all right?
Some of them,
I love you guys. I love you guys.
Oh, those are
84%.
pretty biased, but
That's incredible.
I will agree with them because Mouse, look, great journey by Valiance so far, right? They have reached the finals, defeating one of the favorites as well. But coming down to this, I think this could be the end of the line for them.
I can't wait to see what happens. We need to head over to our casters. Vince and Dust, finally out of bed, gentlemen, in time for the grand final and scrubbing up very well, if I do say so.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Frankie. It's always nice to get a compliment.
Well, we appreciate you. So go ahead, enjoy this one. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, it is time for the grand final of DreamHack Open Tours France.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Yes, I think many of the crowd were hoping for G2, but Valiance did sneak just underneath them to secure their spot in the finals. Now, Mouse, who have consistently looked like the best team here at Tour, I feel like they're the heavy favorites, Dust, especially with those maps.
Yeah, they are, but there is some history there. Valiance did destroy them on Dust 2 earlier in this tournament, which forced, Mousesports have to play some extra games to find themselves in the finals. And obviously it's a much different lineup, but remember, Chris J and Rops were suffering at the hands of Valiance at the European minor for IM Katowice. That's how they got denied the major, and that very much was the catalyst that led to all these roster changes on Mousesports. So I feel like there's something a little bit extra from Chris J and Rops wanting to give it to Valiance. And I know also from speaking to Mousesports, they struggle to play against Valiance's style because they are very unpredictable and very wild. And they are a team that likes to do their homework, and it's hard for them to get reads on Valiance at times. But they're on Train, a map they are currently undefeated on and look very, very dangerous on. They're going to be kicking things off on the T side right away here in this pistol.
Played 7 times with 7 victories to their name on their choice. Starting on the T side of things, Karrigan's also getting tagged out, but all the kills are going the way of Mousesports. Rops with 3 with the Glock, leaving Nectar all alone. He's going to pick up 2 in return, but the bomb's been dropped, and Mousesports will pick up round number 1.
Yeah, really well done there. Rops now is number 3 in rating at the tournament and number 1 in kill assist percentage, but he didn't need to do any assists there, just mopping things up on his own, getting assertive with that Glock and delivering fantastically. That's exactly what you want to do on your Mousesports, is really setting the tempo on your map pick. Again, they are undefeated on LAN 6-0. They've beaten some of the other top 20 teams in the world leading into this, and while Valiance have looked pretty decent on this map at times, Mousesports certainly are the favorite coming in. That's a great way to lead by example with Rops.
So here we go, Letney watching on the Pop Dog. It is a full investment round for Valiance, not leaving much in the bank if things go awry here. Mousesports, on the other hand, are taking it slowly, trying to dwindle away as many of those grenades as possible. And here comes the play. Nades raining in with smokes and flashbangs. Mousesports not taking any time. Going to be getting up close and personal. Bomb plant's going to be put down as well. So, Valiance, in terms of having no kits and only a smoke remaining, this is asking so much from them. They're also hemorrhaging players left and right. Chris J and Frozen both chip in with kills. Otto's fallen down as well. And this force buy is going to yield very little in retaliation from Valiance. They're on the back foot already.
Yeah, another clean sweep for Mousesports, pretty much outside of Kerrigan going down. You need to keep your eyes on that strat. Mousesports is going to run that a lot on gun rounds as well. They really favor throwing those deeper smokes on Inner and pushing close to Z, pushing close to CT spawn, not allowing Valiance any room to retake, really trying to just close in the walls and suffocate them. So be on the lookout for that time and time again. This is probably one of the best T sides that Mousesports has in their map pool right now is Trey, and they are very, very good at doing different set pieces on each site. They're very deep. And so, again, it's going to be an uphill battle here for Valiance. I think, in particular, what I'm going to be a little bit concerned with is going to be Esperanto. He is kind of one of the guys that does a lot of work for them usually, but he's had an off tournament so far. Luckily, Letney's been playing out of his skin so far this event, one of the best rated players in the tournament, which is not something you'd expect to think of happening. But he's definitely done his job, and obviously in this round we can't expect much, just basic pistols here for Valiant. Play though from Hunter, picks up Kerrigan. He'll collect the Mat 10 off of it. So at least doing a little bit of something here, but now the main charge comes into Inner. Only one CT standing to defend. He's been dealt with quite efficiently.
With his death, the B site will open for business. Bomb gets planted. Valiance have a few players with no investment and no reason to save. You'd expect them to set up for some exit frags. Especially as one of those Mat 10s has been taken away, so I don't have to worry about the farming to come into effect. Esperanto connects on to Voxic. Yeah, I'm going to make this one costly. Going to sting a little bit, but Esperanto's now found his fate, courtesy of Rops' AK-47. In terms of the round, it is over. Mousesports are going to have a pretty swift 3-0 lead in the grand finals.
Yeah, once they weather the storm of that force by threat, this is just kind of a mop-up. There's a lot of damage being done, though, so a good amount of rebuying that Mousesports are going to have to do, actually. So that will hurt their economy just a small amount long-term. But all in all, a 3-0 starts where they want to be. Now as we're here, the full gun rounds are going to start coming out. This is where you want to see what Otto can do with the WP. He's going to be so, so important on trying to defend Esperanto, again, a guy who's had some struggles this event, is going to be called upon. And then Voxic, you expect he's going to be a highlight player here with his AWP. Again, Mousesports has such a deep playbook on this map. You never really know what to expect. They have great set pieces for each site. They vary their smoke walls nicely. They're very hard to read. They also have some great front runners like Frozen and Kerrigan to create openings. Same with Chris J. He does some entry work on this map as well. But right now they're just doing a really big gather over towards Inner, and they have Voxic with an AWP solo Ivy. This is definitely a little bit different. You'd expect him to maybe be posted up with this team or at T-Con. So the lurking op is going to be in effect here.
We have seen the lurk ops come into play quite a few times over the duration of this tournament. Dropping down onto the B site, but Otto is going to need to stand tall for his team, wait for the rest of them to arrive. Bomb's been planted, but it's a 2-on-4 in favor of Valiance. There's a few nades to play with. 2 incendiaries now picked up. And Voxic going to have to come down through the ramp. There's one. Does have a Molotov for the potential defuse, but I believe there's a couple of smokes in play as well. And Hunter has one of them, so it's going to render this Molotov forfeit, and it's not required anyway. Otto connects onto Voxic, and Valiance will finally get themselves around.
Yeah, the attempted set piece there from Mousesports on Inner looked good at first, but Otto's rotation with the AWP, there wasn't really any smokes in his face. He kind of had some free reign on crossing players towards those front-facing trains. So one round finally does go the way of Valiance. Good to see them get on the board early. Double op already going to be in effect with Esperanto and Otto. No AWP this time, but some SIGs on Chris J and Kerrigan. There's some of the few players that really love using the SIG on T-side, kind of like Elysian Nap on Team Liquid. They're early adopters, you could say. Rox, meanwhile, has spotted a little bit more than he wanted on that little jump-up ladder, but still fine. So pretty default, but Mousesports are definitely setting up for an outer attack. You can see the smokes being lined up now, but Let Me Up close could disturb things, but not if Frozen can get the better of him first.
A site now starting to crumble for Valiance. They need someone to start to build it back up brick by brick, and Hunter may be the man for the job. Nexa perched up on connector. Not required just yet, but now the smoke is going to clear. The bomb has been dropped out into the open in a really awkward spot for Mousesports. The Rops not able to do anything in a 1-on-3. Valiance will double up their round tally.
Yeah, again, another one of those set pieces from Mousesports they like to use. This time it was towards outer. They had that basic smoke wall on their train. They actually had a good entry on the way. Frozen taking out Let Me Up close, gave them that space to start swarming, but the reactions from Valiance were so on point. They really mopped up once that initial push came through, and now Mousesports are going to have to take a save. This gives Valiance a chance to tie things up right away at 3-all. Triple Ivy opening from Mousesports, another one of their favorite things to do. Unfortunately, they don't really have anything to put to use with it. Just some pistols, no utility to smoke their way out, no real flashes to pop through. It's going to be difficult to get much here.
This is pretty much as bare as it gets for Terrorists. That grenade a little bit too deep to chunk any of these. 3 Terrorists are waiting outside with the bomb. Letney elsewhere. MP9 gets the better of Rops, and there's an AWP frag in the mix too. I mean, as you anticipate, Mousesports not really getting anything. No success.
Not with just Glocks and 250s. Now a pop flash SMG farming some extra cash. Esperanto, the Guardian Angel, making sure Letney didn't get cleaned up, so he gets 2 kills with that MP9, so that's nice. Printing a little bit of money, which will go to great use later on. Mousesports should be back on to the buy, though. I'm curious what they want to do next. Do they want to go triple Ivy again, this time with an AWP on Voxic and actually some utility? Do they want to go for one of the other set pieces again? Many options to choose from. So far, Valiance has responded really well, and they've been able to keep this double AWP setup going. It is going to be that triple Ivy opening again. This time, they do have a scoped weapon going towards Ivy. It's not the AWP, but still a SIG. Still can be quite deadly at range. Again, Valiant's focusing on playing forward, which is great because Frozen likes to come out of TCON on these triple Ivy setups, but Letney's going to deny that space for free at the very least.
Nice for the time being, but now the Molotov going to start to clear. There is a smoke planted down elsewhere. Valiant getting the advantages under their belt. The bomb's been dropped by Otto. Back at CT, and he's going to double up. Very nicely done. He had a sterling performance against Mousesports earlier in this very tournament on Dust 2. And he's looking to pick up from where he left off. Frozen and Rops. Huge task ahead of them. Has started decently, but Frozen does get dinked down to just 3.
Good kill, but it came at a humongous cost, and that bomb is down in such dangerous territory. Trying to break through is going to take a Herculean effort. Rops could be up to the task. He and Frozen have individually been doing pretty well so far this map. They are some of the biggest stats leaders in this tournament. Let's see what they're made of here. They're still very much split up. Rops trying to do a little bit of a sneak through inner. Thinks better of it, though. Begins to back off, just wants to get with his teammate, and they might even just kind of sit back and keep these guns now that they haven't been able to find any opportunities across the map. Valiance didn't show them much of anything.
Yeah, well played by Valiance to dig in once the bomb was dropped, and as you say, saving these AKs, there's really not much money on the horizon. Will give them a bit of firepower to play with. Their round losses starting to build up. This will now be 4 rounds in a row. So 3 of the players around $3,000. Frozen and Rops, of course, have barely anything to their name as a result of saving.
You're seeing good fragging across the board from Valiance. Letney and Hunter amongst the top 5 players in this tournament so far. Next, not too far away at number 6, and so far they're up to the task here on Train as well. Mousesports, just those 2 AKs on Rops and Frozen. Rops going to use an AK usually to work those inner halls. This is probably one of those rounds where you want to let him just kind of play off of timing. You don't want to risk throwing an AK forward against a bunch of utility or a CT holding a close angle. You want to give one of your players who have great intuition, great timing. Rops trying to slide down the ladder, does spot something, doesn't commit right away. Letney, too much of a threat. So it'll just be a bit of a standstill now. There's really no smokes to go for a smoke water except for Frozen's single, which he might use to block off Ivy or E-Box to try to get a little bit of space. It's going to be tough pick, and it's going to rely on just incredible aim at this point and brute force to break out.
With this 4-1 formation, next up, he needs to make sure he doesn't overstep the mark. It's why he's jiggle peeking, just to make sure he doesn't throw out his Molotov or his smoke too early. Rops lurking around the shadows of Pop Dog. It's pretty split and pick, though, for Mousesports. That bulk of the terrorists are posturing for a potential A execute.
Yeah, that's what it's going to look like here. Rops is probably starting to look like he wants to commit ladder, but this utility from Valiance has been so well layered. Every time Mouse wants to push, there's a smoke in their face or fire. It's forcing them to have to really stall out. Now Esperanto's already drawn one. Letney and Hunter pitch in with the Augs, and they've been mopped up across the board. It's just Kerrigan with the Deagle.
Down to 4. Hunter will fall, but Kerrigan can't connect enough to take him out right around. So how things have changed. It was looking like a pretty rampant start from Mousesports, but now Valiance have stabilized and they're applying the pressure.
Yeah, it's tough for Mousesports because coming into this game, Chris J was number 5 and Woxic was number 2 in opening success duels. But they're not finding anything. Plus, you're used to seeing Kerrigan have a good time as an entry. Frozen known for his aggression. So you have so many heavy hitters on this team that can create openings, but they're not finding any right now so far in this game. Granted, they've only really had just a couple of full gun rounds. But it's getting to a point now where they need to see their rifles work. I mean, the thing is, there have been times where Mousesports have struggled getting their T-sides rolling, but Train alongside Inferno and what we saw yesterday on Nuke have been some of the maps where they have had a little bit more success on that T-side. Certainly it hurts that Kerrigan is still at 0 right now. Again, normally one of the guys that's the front runner to help set up Frozen and some of the other players. He's not been able to find those first kills. But we're back to a fully utilized Mousesports, save for some utility, but Voxic does have the AWP again. This time it'll be Chris J soloing towards Ivy.
That's some pretty sick plays with the SG over the duration of this tournament.
No, absolutely.
Does like to prioritize it over the AK-47. One of the few players that does. Of course, the AUG is just a part of the meta at this point in time. Rest of his team going to be coming down. Speaking of the man, he has been picked off on Ivy as he tries to retreat back to T-spawn. And with that movement, it does give Valiance quite a bit of information. It's why they've brought over a third player and they feel content to keep him here. Now the rest of the team's going to be filtering in. There's also another one in the form of Letney that is rotating around the back of them. Is he going to be required though? Because Nexa, alongside Esperanto, lock B completely down. And that timeout yields absolutely nothing for Mousesports.
Yeah, Chris J just getting so unfortunate. Normally their Ivy player on default, he was looking just to make sure they weren't pressing Ivy. And he wanted to gather up for his team to go enter, but he gets caught by a really late push from Hunter. Very uncharacteristic to see that. You can't anticipate that type of play, and it cost a lot because, you know, he wasn't there to help reinforce the attack. And also Mousesports did not have that much utility in that round. They had a couple of smokes to throw deep to kind of get some space, but still there was a lot of gaps that Valiance could poke and prod through, and they netted them a great result. They're now up 6-3, and that's 6 in a row, I believe. And it's looking like 7's right on the horizon as, again, Mousesports are left with little to work with, just a few deagles. Voxic already off the board. They do have a little bit of presence outer, but they're struggling to find movement forward. Keep getting cut off.
Otto's doing a phenomenal job of just holding down. Bunch of whiff bullets from Mousesports is definitely going to help. Now Rops and Chris J, just over 50 health between the pair of them, are up against Nexa and Hunter, who are very healthy indeed. However, it's one of the best chances Mousesports have had in recent memory on the back of one of their worst buys. Ooh, how is Nexa not dead if that deagle landed on his face? One HP left, that's so unfortunate. And now Rops, not only 2 players stacked against him, but the bomb's also dropped in a horrible spot for him. The only thing working for him here, Dust, he's got 45 seconds to play with, and he's just got a little bit more doable. Nexa culled by Rops' AUG. Now trained down towards Ivy's side. Hunter gonna bide his time, not show his hand too quickly. But now he's showed it just in the perfect moment as Rops was in transition. Valiance pull ahead to a 7-3 lead.
Yeah, good job by Hunter closing that out. He's #1 in damage per round for this tournament, #2 in kills per round. He's been one of the big stars for this team for so long, has that Kovac blood in him. Of course, the cousin of Nico over at FaZe, one of the most famed players we have right now in Counter-Strike, and Hunter's really starting to step up to an incredible level in his own right. So well done, but now Mousesports finally do have some utility to put to use. They're gonna go for that triple Ivy opening again. They do favor this in some of the other Train matches I've watched, so I'm not too surprised. I think the big problem is they aren't getting that opening from Voxic's AWP. They aren't able to get Rops into ladder. Frozen has been limited on being able to create space from T-connector. So they need to be able to find that one opening. Bounce has done a great job kind of doing aggression, but at weird timings, but also holding back when they need to. Letney has been playing a fantastic tournament, been playing well above what you normally expect. He's done a great job playing up close on T, kind of denying some of that space I was talking about that's not allowing Frozen to really have impact.
And so far here on Train, they've been doing a very good job of just counteracting Mousesports after that great start that we witnessed after the pistol.
I feel like the double AWP has just been there every single round for Valiance as well. They've never lacked for it, and Mousesports is having a hard time finding their way around it. I think the added utility could help out a set piece on Inner this time. Maybe those deep smokes on top of some good Molotovs might be able to get them a little bit more forward presence on Inner so they can feel more comfortable planning and pushing deeper, denying space for Valiance's retake. But Otto and company have done a great job rotating to Inner and denying these plants. And it could happen again. Christie's trying to lurk outer, but it seems like the focus is going to be Inner, though they could slide down ladder. It's not necessarily guaranteed they will take Inner. I think it depends on what Christie discovers here.
He can take some players with him. All the better for it. He's gone down. He has got 2 players over on A. Now Frozen's going to barrel out of Pop Dog. They've decided against the B hit. So far, so good. 3-on-2 in their favor. And the remaining Valiant players are still locked on B with a smoke in their eyes on Connector. Have to come through here. Smoke is now dissipated. Carrigan still yet to get off the mark. This could be a big time for him to connect some headshots for his confidence and for his team. We'll put an end to this 7-round win streak. Voxic on the cross, nice shot onto Nexa mid-air. Otto can do very little, but slowly back away and try and save this orb. So Mousesports have broken the win streak.
Yeah, good little reaction there from Mousesports. Despite the fact that Chris J went down, they were in a 4-on-5. They were able to get out ladder so quickly. Frozen with a couple of great entries. Even with Letney playing up close on T-Con, which could have been so dangerous. They literally him just the 1 frag. That's so massive. Letney could have easily just teed off and sprayed down 2 or 3 from that position. So I really want to tip my hat to Frozen there. He really got involved, did great. Also good to see Voxic get a couple of op shots. You want him to start getting settled in here soon. I like the call here from Valiance. They finally are starting to get around. We need to go ahead and slow them down right away. Start thinking things through. Kind of keeping everyone level-headed. That's one of the big things that Valiance is kind of struggling with is they don't really have a true in-game leader. Hunter was doing it at Rio. Now they have Nexa doing it. Apparently he's trying to commit to it long-term, but I feel like it's more of democratic rule when it comes over there. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, you have Kerrigan, a legendary in-game leader who's done wonders with Mousesports so far, and Chris J, definitely capable of pitching in mid-round calls. They have a great coach as well behind them who does a lot of research for them, so they do have that leadership structure. But hopefully Emmy, during that timeout, is able to kind of, keep Valiance on point, because right now they're doing just fine.
It's a solid call to call a timeout. If they've got a great half already, could get a whole lot better. Let's not let this get out of control. Voxic gets there just a step ahead of Esperanto, and we'll trip him over. And they just get the pick, and they pull away, and they keep Valiance guessing.
Yeah, outside of the set pieces, triple Obby is probably their favorite thing to do. They don't actually default a whole hell of a lot on Mousesports, and they're finally starting to find those openings at Obby, not just positioning there, but actually getting picks. Unfortunately for them, Otto, opposite side of the map, is able to pick up on Rops, the normal inner player for Mousesports. That's kind of denied that route for now. Mousesports are just still stuck at outside T connector. They do have plenty of smokes to go for their smoke wall, and a few mollies they can throw deep towards Camera and Z to try to get them into outer. Frozen does have ladder room control. He's been smoked off, but once they wait that out, they can start attacking, and here actually comes the push right now.
Otto on the back of the site, gonna go for a peek and hope for the best. Voxic has got his 2nd kill of the round, not far off with the no-scope, but Hunter, I was gonna say, if he can maybe turn the tides of this round, that him and Nexa could make something special happen. Mousesports are having none of it.
Yeah, Kerrigan finally gets on the board. Those are some big boy entries from him, just tearing it up through outer. I think what was big was Frozen was able to get ladder really, really early. That gave them a little bit more breathing room. Again, they had enough utility to block off some of the common angles, and they already had somewhat of an advantage thanks to that pick from Voxic in the early round. Also, again, starting to slow down Letney up close on T-Con, so they're beginning to start finding those opportunities they need to pose a threat to Valiance, who has so far played a great TD side. Look at Chris J! That was an amazing little move over the fire. What a headshot! He's not done yet. That's Hunter gone. And they're steamrolling in.
That first one-tap was disgusting. Esperanto, though, going to steady the nerve, steady the round, put it back onto the right course. So much action in the first few moments that Nex has been able to pull into Pop Dog and make that rotation sing for Valiance. Frozen, though, is going to bring it back into the realms of possibility. Letney is low. Kerrigan making a move around, going to come head-to-head with Nexa, who is running around and stomping. Could be heard from miles away. And Letney in a measly 34 HP is all that separates Mousesports. And bringing this back to a 1-round deficit. He's landed the first headshot, though, but it is information now gathered for Kerrigan. He's been definitely picking it up over these last couple of rounds after a 0-9 start. He's got 4 kills. A flashbang to his name, but also Letney. Could just come down to the timing. Letney taking a Brisk walk down the right side of the site, and Carrigan, he's a step ahead. He's read the script. He knows exactly what's coming up. If he just turns to his left, he's going to have the headshot. And Mousesports do take it to a 7-6. That was so incredibly close.
Yeah, it was definitely chaotic. I thought that was going to be a clean sweep. Chris J hit that magical timing where an incendiary comes in, but you do have that beat of a step on it where you can jump past it. And he was able to get out in the open, hit some incredible headshots. And at this point, it's 5-on-3. I feel like you should just mop this up, but a lot of chaos breaks out across the map. That puts Carrigan in a 1v1. But these last 2 rounds, Carrigan's finally got himself on the board. He was 0-7. He's now 5-9, so he's starting to feel that entry power a little bit. Now they have Valiance's economy on the ropes. They have to take a save this round. This is where Mousesports can start really closing that gap. They're about to tie this game up, most likely. We got a game on our hands at this point.
There's no doubting that whatsoever. Really on a razor's edge. You expect Mousesports to take this round pretty convincingly up against the lack of investment Letney has. Put down a second player, though. In terms of manpower, it's equal. Firepower, anything but. Otto from above will strike onto Frozen. Rops can hear the footsteps up the ladder and spins around for a second. So all even. The question now is who will lead at half-time?
It's going to be the closest half possible, 8-7, but who's going to have that slight edge going to Pistol second half? That's what we're going to decide here and now. It's been a bit of a back and forth. Mousesports had the 3-0 lead, a massive winning streak from Valiance, but they've been silenced the last 3 in a row. 4 in a row, actually. Toxic looking to get out here fast with the AWP. Doesn't spot anything just yet, but he's got a good angle. CTs are trying to press the E-box side, but he'll slowly creep out. It's on a razor's edge. Who's actually going to get it? But this inner push has been fruitful for Valiance. It's been traded back, though.
2 of the star players for Mousesports have begun to shine. Pulling just outside of the clouds that were looming overhead for a while here on Train. Hunter spoilt for choice with 2 players peeking him, but it's going to be Frozen again, the youngster. Turning some heads. Otto and Esperanto going to fight until the bitter end of this half. No kits available, both with a smoke. AK and AWP to their hand, but Voxic is making a rotation. Chris J, as ever, with the SG, primed, positioned, ready to strike. He's going to be given the call to do just that momentarily because Valiance now starting to make a move. Both sides of the bomb. The first shot does connect, but not enough to kill Chris J. There's a team kill in there, but they're not going to care because Frozen doubles up, and Mousesports will have the lead at halftime, 8-7.
Indeed they will. You couldn't ask for a better way to kick off the grand finals. A close first half, as good as it gets. But stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Touch, touch, touch. Yo, touch, touch, touch. Oh, let me take you there. I'm gonna dance without the care. Yo, touch, touch, touch. Yo, touch, touch, touch. Smooth on the dance floor. Touch everyone. Touch, touch, touch. Wake up on the dance floor. Step, you say. Smooth on the dance floor. Touch everyone. Wake up on the dance floor. Crazy now. You're trying to convince me that you're the only one I
A back and forth first half of our grand final sees Mousesports making the comeback and taking the lead 8-7. It's still very much open for debate between these two teams. On Train, the pick of Mousesports, a team that has not lost this map in at least 3 months, Dust. They have looked very good, but they're being tried and they are being tested by Valiance.
Yeah, Valiant's not a bad Train team in their own right. Not as powerful on land, but definitely very comfortable playing it in the online environment. Had a couple of cool wins on it, including beating Mousesports at the European Minor, the older version. So that's something to think about. So we get into the pistol here. Valiant's not quick to show their hand, just kind of sitting back. They do have a good bit of utility for either smokes on Bomb Train outer, or it could be the deep smokes inner. They definitely have their options open to them. Definitely want to try to get smokes down close to distance, get those Glocks in the faces of Mousesports, and try to take this back to a tie.
Smokes being deployed, one in the eyes of 2 Mousesports players on Ivy. That's really going to segregate Frozen from the rest of his team. They're going to be hoping he can pop some heads before he gets charged down, but Esperanto in first will strike and draw. First blood of this second half. Bomb plant quickly follows. That was a fantastic smoke, really neutralizing Mousesports. They could do very little to stop the push. And now Nexa, close range of the P250, just at the worst possible moment, jumps up. He's going to be able to recover thanks to Otto having his back covered. Rops in the meanwhile, making inroads through. Pop Dog has already claimed 1 headshot, but he's piecing out of there. Valiance will be taking the second pistol.
Immediate tie on our hands here as we kick off the second half, thanks to a great little outer take from Valiance, like you noted. Usually on these pistol rounds, you don't have very much utility because you want to get that armor. But on this map, those smokes are required to be able to get that space, to close that distance, and Valiant certainly were efficient with the few nades they had. Exactly the way you want to kick off the half. Get it right back even. Now will Mousesports look to force? We have seen a lot of the times that they've been forcing a scout onto Voxic and we're doing like a hero weapon on Rops. What do you know? It's the exact same call. Hero weapon on Rops with the FAMAS and armor, Voxic with the scout. They were doing this a lot on T-side with AK scout, but now they're going to do it on the CT side with FAMAS scout.
Absolutely. And why not? It's been playing out very well for them so far. That's so aggressive by Hunter. That's a gun that's going to be trading hands. Sure, it's not only an MP5, but additional smoke picked up 2 for Frozen. And only losing 44 health in the process. Not great for Valiance.
No, not at all. It hurts to lose someone that early, but luckily Letney has been already able to get one down. Frozen, though, repositioned with his Eagle, but Letney again being very successful on these opening picks. Again, he's had a blinder of a tournament so far. Kind of an MVP candidate almost, to be honest.
I think it's definitely a fair statement to make. I think Amanex also up there from G2. Unfortunately, of course, they lost out to Valiance in the semi-final matchup. Gone to a bit of a standstill here in round 17. Understandably, it's a tense round, a lot on the line. Mousesports have firepower, and Valiance know it.
Yeah, Valiance being real careful here. Now that they've felt a little bit of pressure, they know that. They need to be careful. Rops is going to be playing inner as he normally would. He is, again, one of the players that actually does have a little bit of higher firepower. And he's very intelligent in how he plays inner. He doesn't just give away things for free. He'll get his kill and he'll fade back and he'll buy time. But Letney, he's starting to sniff around towards outer. Might find something here shortly. That could cause big problems for Mousesports, who are a man down already. Rotations are already strained.
Yeah, and with that connector, it's gonna, with the connector smoke, pardon me, it's gonna be harder to actually rotate. But actually, it's gonna be the A hit. Now, Carrigan has gone completely unchecked. Will the timing favor him? There's only 8 seconds left. But there's Nexa with a Mach 10. And Rop's not close enough to threaten the bomb plant. So Valiance, it was a little bit sketchy for a few moments, but they have stood back up and continue forward and will regain the lead. 9-8 now.
Yeah, Letney already starting to tee off with the AK here. 3 kills on this round, obviously against unequipped opponents for the most part, but it's still good to see him getting into a good groove. That's the matchup we need to be watching all game long, by the way. It's that entry duo of Letney and Hunter, who are some of the biggest stats leaders and success in opening duels, going against some really talented players over on Mousesports. On outer, typically it's going to be Chris J and Frozen that are going to be playing up close, trying to defend against those initial choke points. Carrigan typically going to be responsible for Ivy, and then Voxic will be all over the place with the AWP. So I want to see if Letney and Hunter can keep it up, but they can keep creating these openings. Once we get into the gun rounds, That's where Valiance can really start to work towards that territory where Mousesports perhaps take their first loss on Train in the offline environment.
Their choice of map as well, Dust. The grand finals, they concede this, then things are off to a slippery start, considering many people, myself included, to be honest, would have gone with Mousesports to win this game. AK-47, some Desert Eagles by the sides of Mousesports, and Chris J also has some armor if they can retrieve a second gun from one of the corpses of the Valiance players. Carrigan with his Desert Eagle thinks better of re-peeking. He's going to back away. Unbeknownst to him, there's 2 players down there in the form of Otto and Nexa. But Hunter's shown his presence. The one assault rifle does return fire, and Rops will eviscerate him. They could actually get across there potentially and pick up the weapon, but they're thinking better of it. They don't want to get baited in and lulled into a false sense of security. The B play's coming in here, though. Voxic, they're going to line up for his Desert Eagle, and just for a brief moment, you thought that was doable. He did a chunk of damage, though, Dust. Letney and Nexa both below half HP.
Yeah, that gives them some opportunities here. They do have that AK on Chris J, as you noted, with that armor, and Kerrigan with the Deagle definitely can still do damage, especially with Letney and Nexa already halfway through. But they are going to go ahead and just back off, want to save that AK and armor. Definitely very valuable stuff. Kerrigan just lingering around to see if he might be able to pick up a weapon, but Otto will put a stop to that. So it will be Valiance rolling out the 10-8, but Mousesports will be back onto the buy coming up next. Voxic definitely will have that money for an AWP. Not really the money there for Chris J to get a second AWP unless he drops the AK to someone and someone drops him an op. They don't really prioritize Chris J double opping though, because he's fine using an AUG. So we'll have to see which decision they make.
Of course, if they did go in for the double ops, it would leave them a distinct lack of utility, which is very important on Train.
Yeah.
So it does leave them pretty vulnerable and bare. As you say, Chris J can use pretty much any gun that you throw at him. Super versatile player.
Again, I just want to see if Letney keeps it up, dude. He's been playing so well, especially against G2 on that Dust 2 game. He had just a whack performance, man. It was so unreal. And if he's continuing to get those opening kills, and you have Hunter next to him, who's actually number 4 in total opening kills for the tournament, and he has, really shown a lot of great entry work throughout the event. And so that combination, then you have Esperanto just kind of floating in the middle, who he himself has actually kind of picked it up this game. He was actually one of the question marks for Valiance for me coming into this, because he wasn't performing nearly as well as you'd expect given the ceiling of a player he is and compared to his teammates, but he's definitely done a lot better so far today on Train.
Stepping up when it truly counts, and speaking of the man, he is first in, taking no prisoners. Chris J will jail him for the time being. And right off the bat, losing a player significantly weakens Valiance in terms of their grenades. Esperanto had quite a few on his utility belt. See, 3 smokes remain with over 1 minute 20 on the clock.
Yeah, still a lot of time to play around with here for both teams, but Mousesports the one with the advantage. They do have Rop still tucked into Inri. He's got some assistance as well. Valiance just trying to think what they want to do next. They do have 3 smokes they could use to do the smoke wall on Bomb Train, and she'll try to work outer with some pop flashes and a couple of mollies for Cameron, the like. But they also could still drift towards inner. The problem is they don't really have any inner halls present, so they have no idea if Mousesports has pushed that, so they kind of have to really either gamble that they haven't or go for the outer take. I think outer take is what's going to be in the cards. You do start seeing the utility pour in.
Chris J not budging an inch. Watching the tight angle, Frozen at the back of the site, but Chris J's gone down. That's the big part of the puzzle that goes with it. Now Frozen doesn't feel very comfortable. What the hell was that flick? That's 2 kills in quick succession, the blink of an eye. He's turned this round on its head. He doesn't need any support at all. He's a one-man army, and he could be getting more. Not quite. That buys up enough time for Rops to get into position and strike onto Letney. Otto will not do any better. Frozen with those 2 kills, so vitally important for Mousesports.
Yeah, I know Frozen was a bit in his own head yesterday from what I heard, that, he felt like he wasn't really performing as well as he wanted to. He's actually the lowest rated player on Mousesports right now in this tournament. He's still number 10 in the event, but some of the other players have kind of stepped in front of him. But yesterday he had massive impact. He was always taking map control, causing pressure, opening other things up for his teammates, so he still did a good job. He didn't play bad, but now you're starting to see him put up the numbers, 100 ADR. Top fragging for his team as well now, so this is good stuff from him. And now Rots decides to get a little bit forward on inner. Doesn't get anything, but gets away, and that's what matters most. No harm, no foul.
All things considered, Valiant still, though, lead by 1 round. Rop's going to try and bring that back to equality. Letney gets kneecapped and finished off by the Org. Still 3 smokes and plenty of flashbangs at the disposal of the terrorist squad.
Basically deja vu, though, Vince. Exact same situation they were dealt last round. Again, they don't really have any inner halls presence. They only have just a couple of smokes for an outer take. A few pop flashes. Otto does have the AWP. He could create an opening. But there's the double op right now out for Mousesports. That needs to be noted. Chris J now has one as well. That's going to make things a little bit dicey for Valiance. They might not be expecting that right away. Could really throw a wrench in their plans to have a second op to deal with.
Especially as a lot of their utilities already been expended. They're not going to be able to blot out the sun for Chris J. And Voxic. And there is Chris J. Zorp rings out across the battlefield, sending a shiver down the collective spine of Valiance, but Nexa gonna battle through it. And so will Otto. Chris J now back at the snipe's got to go massive. There's one. Missed out in a second. Looked like the bullet went through him, but Rops again, as ever, right place at the right time. And Mousesports, they have brought it back to 10 apiece.
Indeed they have, man. This is starting to turn into a bit of a slugfest. Rops with a great rotation through Z there. Getting boosted up top. Up to 21 kills now. Again, very good on his timing on his rotation.
Mousesports need to extend the lead now. Need to take a lead in the first place. Against a complete lack of investment. Starts out well. Couple players around Pop Dog waiting to drop down once again. Bomb drop back towards T-Spawn though. A team like Mousesports are so well regimented and disciplined under Carrigan's tutelage that they're not going to go peeking that. It's really up to Valiant to take the initiative and do something. It's exactly what they try to do on Ivy, but Carrigan's going to swat them away with his Org.
Yeah, this is not the round you were expecting much from Valiance, to be honest. Just, you know, a few upgraded pistols sprinkled around at best. So Mousesports will take the lead right back after having it a very short period. And I'm curious what Valiance will do in our next gun round, to be honest. We haven't really seen them really fully go for something early round. They've really kind of lost opening picks a lot, so they've really been bogged down, forced to just take kind of mid-round decisions they probably weren't even really fully excited about. Just kind of forced their hand to go outer. I mean, their playbook isn't nearly as deep as Mousesports when you watch their demos, but I definitely have, you know, seen them have comfort in this map. And I know for a fact that they actually have some really good inner executes in their playbook. You might not expect it for such a loose, scrappy team, but they have some really good Molotov execs all over the inner bomb site. And I do see a couple of Molotovs have been purchased, so they could maybe try that. It's the only thing that really haven't seen out of them yet. The problem is it's hard for them to do fast plays now because there's so much utility for Mousesports, and you have to worry about the fear of that double op, though it's not there actually for Mousesports because she has an MP9.
Valiance won't necessarily know that, however. He's already shown that he is happy to pick up the second AWP if required. It does seem like Valiant sometimes rest a bit too heavily on their individual talent. Some entry fragger maybe to come out and break the deadlock onto B side. Rops is there alongside Voxic, playing more of a passive angle. And speaking of Rops, he's been found by Otto. Great cost to Letney's health, but they'll take it. The advantage falls in their favor. Need to wait for that smoke to plume so that Voxic can't shoot them on the cross. Patience paying out for them, Carrigan. Ripping around on Connector, finds Otto, but the player advantage still in favor of the T's post plant. They do have an ace up the sleeve in the form of Frozen, though. He's been making moves behind the back of them, but he needs to be quicker. Voxic is stranded alone at the back of the site. He's hoping that someone comes back. I assume this means they're going to set up for exit frags, and they're going to give up this round, but for a moment I thought they might actually go for it.
Yeah, Valiance does make the adjustment that we were kind of thinking they might, which is go for the inner exec. They didn't have as much utility as they normally have for that type of hit, but they also got gifted a free kill early. Rops kind of goes for a 50-50 pop flash play on the ramp and gets waxed. And that really helped open up the doors for Valiance, knowing that there was only at most one other player there, probably the Opper, who's going to be playing back, so that means you're going to feel more comfortable at least getting onto the sidewalk and starting to get into the bomb train. Defended the retake quite easily. And so we're right back into a tie situation, Vince. We were hoping for a solid game, and so far this one has been delivering just that. We knew that both these teams featured a lot of firepower, a lot of stats leaders for this tournament are in this game. A lot of high skill ceiling players, a lot of flashy fraggers, and we're getting a lot of that so far.
Now, we were speaking to Carrigan and their coach just before this game started. Hold that thought for a moment, because I thought Esperanto was going to push down into ramp. Flashbang in. There's a double stack here. Rops is playing more aggressively. He got caught last round. Gonna get the upper hand onto Esperanto and get his revenge.
That's just some crazy mind games. You're not going to expect Rops to do that twice. Not only, but he did it in a different way. It wasn't a pop flash peek. It was actually just holding the corner and baiting off of Voxic's op shot. I like it. It's a great little micro adjustment that nets Mousesports an early advantage. Now, they're just hoping Letney can find that opening on outer. Nexa is drifting towards Ivy. Normal position for him on default. No surprise there. So they've got to slow things down. They do have still a lot of utility left. Otto does have the SIG, not the AWP, but still a scope weapon for distance duels. He's also been playing really, really well. He's one of the guys that have also at times had struggles for Valiance, but he's had some great games here in Tours. So what's the call here from Valiance? Time is starting to hit that mid-round situation where you want to start making decisions. Obviously, you don't have to force your hand just yet, but it seems like they're thinking of that outer take. Plenty of nades will be pouring in, but can they find the opening?
That has been the question on this T-half thus far. Who is going to get the upper hand? It's going to be Carrigan on the swing with the AWP. Rewinding the gears. Hunter less. Players remain on his side now. He's all alone. 20 seconds and probably just thinks about saving. There's not going to be enough time for him to realistically get across to the B site. Wants to keep the AK-47. There's not a great deal of money going to be coming up.
Yeah, Carrigan actually has a second AWP that time. Normally it's Chris J. I think Chris J wanted to be a little bit more flexible, have a little bit more comfort playing up close, which can be harder to do with the op. And Carrigan's their normal Ivy player, so it doesn't make sense for him to take cracks at it. And he's definitely done it at times on different teams throughout his career. Step past that smoke, delivered a nice little shot to kind of keep them ahead on the initial take, which seemed to be the catalyst that really just brought it home for Mousesports there on top of Rops' initial kill in the inner halls. So definitely a nice little diverse defense for Mousesports, giving different looks to Valiance, not making them able to get in any type of comfort zone, and that means extra time needed for Valiance to chat things over.
As we were touching on just before this, we did have a chance to speak to Carrigan and their coach, and they were showing a lot of respect across the Valiance. They actually said they'd probably rather play G2 because Valiance have this, they did say random, but they said it's like a cohesion as well. They're not entirely sure what to expect from Valiance. They're not a very predictable team.
I mean, if I had to sum up Valiance in one expression, it would be just controlled chaos. You know, they very much thrive in that type of environment. Again, not much of a tactician on this team. I mean, they have their basics down, though, is the point, and they can kind of gather up together. They have versatile enough players to do multiple roles all at once. And it looks like they want to test inner halls again. This smoke, though, is making them really wary of maybe there was some more aggression, but actually this time, Rops is playing really far back on inner. There's a lot more focus on playing Coast T-Con for Mousesports this time. Again, wanting to vary up that defense. Not give any consistencies for Valiance to read into.
Valiance patiently waiting to commence with the B hit. This time Rops playing very passive at the back of the site. We've seen him up on the ramp quite a few rounds. That grenade's going to do nothing to hinder their approach, but Frozen is going to strike while the iron is hot, while these smokes are firing in. Molotov thrown in retaliation. Now here come the rest of Mousesports. They're going to be rotating through on the back of CT side, all clumping together. Letney close range, going to drop Chris J, but Carrigan again with the AWP. Will finalize onto Esperanto. Half the timer left on the bomb. Mousesports are going to have to get a move on. There's no Molotov in play for Valiance. They can't throw the molly from the top. Another box halls, but Otto's going to try and spray him down with a Galil. The bomb's in an awkward spot. They're trying to jump up to get this one. And Vox is going to show himself. What a strange, scrappy round that ends up being. But Valiance will be the victors.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that was just because of Letney getting pop flashed into Z. They had those deep smokes to be able to get forward. That's kind of a meta shift you've seen on train over the last few months. Is a lot of teams are not just smoking close sidewalk to get out. They want to get it deeper. They want to get that space away from CTs as quick as possible. That's what Letney did there. So he gets pop flashed in, he gets a kill. And after he gets that kill, he's kind of trapped in Z. But the problem is Mousesports always have to worry about him coming back. And so that keeps you, grounded. You can't really move forward as freely as you want to. That's going to slow down the retake. And then, yeah, I guess they were hoping the bomb was going to be planted on the bottom, but in fact it was planted on top of the train. So it made it harder for them to get to the bomb. A couple of big kills broke out across from Hunter and Otto. And now we're just right back into the thick of it, man. No one can hold a lead for long lately, it seems.
Definitely feel the tension of the grand finals here. Mousesports nowhere near as clinical as they were yesterday when commentating them.
Yeah, it's odd, too, because, again, this is the whole map for Mousesports, undefeated. Beat some really good teams to get here on this map, and again, this is one of the maps they look the sharpest on, but they're having their problems. Voxic, though, putting his best foot forward this round to try to get them back on top in this tie situation. It is worth noting, despite the victory, Valiance's economy is still not that great. They don't have the best firepower or utility, and now they're down a man. Both economies are so fragile. We're deep in the game. These rounds matter so much more now.
Yeah, this really could be a 2-for-1, and at the finish line, could be one team stumbling when it really counts. Rob's close range, Desert Eagle in his hands, gonna whiff, but finally does connect the shot point blank range. Frozen, unable to get at full control over that brain. That shot does land, but it just legs Otto. He's down to 15. The HP certainly favors Mousesports. The positioning, Valiance. No grenades to play with, though, and Chris J is making the wraparound. There's the SMG kill. And now Nexa in all sorts of trouble. He's trying to back away with his AWP and relocate, but the bomb's not planted for him. He can't stop this. The full diffuse is going to come in inside the smoke, and Mousesports will regain the lead. With Nexa just praying and hoping for the best. See if he can actually save the AWP. He can. But what a time for Mousesports to come alive.
Indeed. Rops, even though he only got one kill, bought the time he needed for Voxic and company to get into position to battle against that take. Voxic, of course, gets really unfortunate, hitting the kneecap and then getting blitzed right afterwards. Almost a team ace, though, nonetheless, only carrying and not involved in the fragging on that round, but he did get the defuse. And now it's just getting so tense, man. Again, we mentioned how the economies are really tight for both teams at this point. Mousesports do jump back ahead 13-12, but Valiance is right on their heels, breathing down their necks, and so they have to be quite careful how they approach their final steps towards the finish line. They cannot afford any blunders. So an extra time to chat is not a bad call. Don't really know any key adjustments they need to make. I just want to make sure that they want to watch out for maybe something that Valiance might like to do in this situation. Their coach may have a read. I know he does like to do his research.
Passing along that information to Carrigan. Steady the nerves somewhat. I have to admit, I have to keep into consideration they still do have some youngsters on their team, but speaking of which, Otto onto Carrigan. What a beautiful start for Valiance.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what you want, just to get a freebie on just the op going towards Ivy, just catching Kerrigan, jiggle peeking, so an early advantage. Now they have ladder control as well. A kill from Hunter up close on Frozen with the CZ. Chris J trying his damnedest to bring something back, but no one's giving him the opportunity. Now he's in a lot of trouble as well. He's got Voxic for support, but they might get overwhelmed just by sheer numbers, and there's Chris J off the board as well.
Pressure really mounting for Voxic. Can he hold on? Yes, he can! Oh, 3 kills in quick succession! And it could be a 4th, and it is! Somehow this man is held his ground by himself. Both players very much healthy. Plenty of time left for the bomb. Not a control for Otto. Oh! And he's done it! Voxic with a ridiculous clutch!
And there's no way to analyze that other than just saying the man has got stoned, holding his ground at E-Box. Everything is collapsing around him. It couldn't be worse. Chris J's off the board. Kerrigan dies early. Nothing is going their way. And then somehow he just lines them up and knocks them down. My goodness. And that's such an X-Factor play considering where we're at in the game, where the economies were, how close the score is, the pressure on Mousesports on their home map, struggling to close out, and then Voxic delivers like that.
What a time for a hero play this is. On the stretch to the finish line of map number 1 of the grand finals. And Voxic, who, let's be honest, has had a bit of a quiet map, hasn't had as much chance to shine with the AUG of all weapons, not the AWP.
I mean, he came into this game the number 2 rated player in the tournament, was an MVP candidate along Chris J. Had really good stats, really good success in opening duels, but as you noted, he came into train a little bit quiet, but that's a big time play to get your head right. Doesn't even need the AWP to do it either. We'll have one in this round, though. I'm sure he's happy to give the AUG away even after the ace.
I can see as well, we were touching on the finances. Valiance now back into nothing. They're going to have to push down weak, vulnerable. No armor, no nades, nothing. Voxic's going to be joining too. His confidence is going to be oozing at this stage. On the cross, he's going to strike twice. Rops will finish off the rest. The full house of kills. Rops with 3, Voxic with 2. And more importantly for Mousesports, they've now got some map points.
I don't know. What does Valiance want to do here? It's their last chance. It's survival mode right now. Yeah, there's a second map. Your map picked Mirage. But guess what? Mousesports love them some Mirage too, so I don't know how much of an edge they got there. So they need to still try to keep their head right in this game. Limited utility, though. They have struggled to find consistent openings. They don't have an AWP for auto. So it really limits their options when you are lacking this much. Oh, my goodness.
Now he's not missing. What a difference confidence makes us. Carrigan gets Otto, and Otto has won a lot of those fights on Ivy. And Carrigan taking the initiative, playing aggressively. Voxic now being forced, pushed back. Onto the CT side of sight. Chris J still up on the train. Esperanto and Hunter still have life for them yet, but it's been snuffed out. Mousesports going to win their choice of map. It wasn't straightforward, it wasn't easy, but they got there in the end.
Indeed, it was labor. They started out 3-0, but then fell quite behind. But they played such a great CT side. Having lost the pistol, going down 0-3 in the second half, losing the lead, they rallied big time, and everyone really stepped up when they needed to. Even Kerrigan, who was 0-7 at one point, still managed to go 13-19, so he really recovered later. Rops with nearly 30 kills and over 100 ADR. Frozen with the big boy game, 25 kills, was all over the place. What a game, man. Like, you want a grand finals to be exciting? Guess what? It has been so far. What a great, fantastic first match.
And it's great to see Frozen really step up here and have a great performance. It's going to do the world of good for him. Ending on a positive note as well, Voxic with that ridiculous clutch, the crazy solo effort. I think things are looking pretty up, but you have to take into consideration that was their choice of map. Next up is Mirage, and maybe Valiance can bounce back.
Maybe they could, but we're going to hear from our guests first on what they thought of Train, so take it away, folks.
Well, it was interesting to me there because each team had its own preference for the bomb site, but obviously it was much more successful for Mousesports. And I have to say, every single member really stepping up. And I was screaming a bit. I'm really actually surprised that I haven't lost my voice. But at the same time, Valiance didn't make it easy for them. So how did they actually make it hard for Mousesports, Potter?
You know, I gotta give kudos to Valiance. They kept Mousesports money almost at 0 every single round on their CT side. Every round, Blaine and I were looking at the screen like if they won that round, they would have broke Mousesports money. So definitely kudos to Valiance. They definitely came in with the game plan, and that was on Mousesports map pick. We got Mirage coming up. That's Valiance's map pick, so this is gonna be, it's getting spicier.
Yeah, if you look at Train, I really thought Mousesports had the map in the bag when they had, I think, 8 rounds on the T side. That's pretty much done and dusted right there, right? That's a game in the bag. But Valiance did something that no one else had done to Mousesports in this tournament on Train. They abused that inner bomb site time and time again, and Robs was not able to hold it all solo. They even had, I think, a couple of rounds, they forced Mousesports to keep 3 players towards the inner bomb site initially because they were worried about losing it. So they really tested it B bomb site, and that's something which I really appreciate what they did. And that one round where Vox just stood like a god and just clutched it out like an absolute beast. If he had not managed to clutch that one out, this map, I wouldn't be surprised if Valiance took it, because that would have broken the money completely for Mousesports.
Listen, guys, we're going to Mirage next. We don't have much time left to discuss this, but do we think it's going to be a 2-0 after that performance from Mouse?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we're going to see a third map. I hope we're going to see a third map. You know, Valiance came in and they picked Mirage. Mirage is such a strong map for Mousesports, but we have to assume that Valiance has a strong game plan coming into this.
Yeah, looking at what Nexus said as well, they have done their homework, but I'm still going to stand by what I said earlier. Picking Mirage was a mistake, and I think this could be Mousesports just closing it out and we all go home early.
Well, you heard the man. We may be going home early, but we do need to go to a break. But when we come back, Vince and Dust will be casting Mirage.